I'm Robert Stout.
I'm James Hinchcliffe, and this is The Skinny.
From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. All right, enough of this racing crap. Let's get to why we really got you in here.
Oh, God.
Because Sharna, without a doubt,
I knew that was coming.
Is the best looking one of the bunch, man. And they're all beautiful people, guys and girls. But in all honesty, I mean, congratulations, by the way, second there.
you.
Although, did Elio win that damn thing?
He did. Yeah, he reminds me
that
weekly.
Had to suck, huh?
Yeah, he reminds me weekly. Yeah.
But honestly, I want to know what goes on behind the scenes. Like, how difficult was that thing to do?
That was insanely difficult to do. It was so much work, man. It was so much work. When they call you up to sell you on doing the show, right? They're like, yeah, you know, it's 6 days a week and you practice 4 hours a day and we'll move you out to Los Angeles and you know, whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, all right, so I could do like a early rehearsal Friday morning, you know, and then like a late rehearsal on Sunday, take Saturday as my day off. And then, you know, my wife and I can maybe do like a little day trips around California. I'm like, okay, that's on 4 hours a day. Like that's not, I train almost that every day anyways. I'm like, okay. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I didn't want to do it because I can't dance, right? I'm a 5'9" white guy from Canada. Like, I cannot dance. Like, this is the extent of my dancing ability. Maybe a Macarena if it's a really crazy night. And so, but IndyCar were like, we'd really like you to do this. This would be great for when Elio did it. It was 10 years since Elio had done it. So when he did it, it was huge. And we got all these new fans, whatever. And my sponsors and my team, like, we really want you to do this. I was like, okay, fine. So I'm like, yeah, 4 hours a day. I would have my day off, whatever. No. So it's actually 8 to 10 hours a day. It's 7 days a week. They're 6 days a week is rehearsal because day 7 is show day. And show day, you have to get to the studio. You've got to do a run through. Then you've got to do a full dress rehearsal. And then you've got to do the show. So it's actually like the longest day is your off day, right? It's like, okay. If they actually told you what it was, nobody would sign up for it. Nobody would sign up for it because it is so much work.
Well,
and
they didn't lie. It was 4 to 6 hours a day.
Yeah, if you wanted to go home first.
Well, no, I mean, it was still 4 to 6. You ended up 8, but I mean, you did your 4 to 6.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Exactly. But no, so the first show we were still racing. Like we had like 2 weeks. Like I met Sharna, and then we had 2 weeks of kind of. She would fly out to certain places, and we maybe did like, I don't know, 5 or 6 days of rehearsal in that sort of 2 weeks, moving around, whatever. And then we get to LA and we do the first show, and I don't remember. Like I blacked out when the music started, and all I wanted to do was not make a complete ass of myself. Right? I just wanted to not go home first. That was like my only goal going into this thing. And the music ends, and I hadn't tripped or fallen down. We were both still standing, so I'm like, okay, this obviously went okay. And we get our scores at the end. And, you know, Sharna had said, she's like, look, week 1, you're going to see 3s, 4s, and 5s. That's just how it works. And they, you know, because nobody's that good yet. And they've got to be able to like ramp it up as you get better or whatever. And so we got 7s and 8s on our first week.
Wow.
And she was like, that's not normal. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. And then at the end of the night, I clearly didn't read the rules on how this show actually works, which in hindsight, I probably should have. I just thought it was all the fan vote, right? Like they give you the little paddles with the numbers. And it's like, yeah, that's just to give people at home some sort of reference as to how crap you are at dancing. And then at the end of the day, a scoreboard comes up and it had everybody's scores from the night. And I was tied for first, which was a huge shock in and of itself. But at that moment, and they're like, this is a running tally that we keep throughout the season. And I was like, oh, wait, so like every week we get
It's a
points.
championship.
It's a championship. And so this switch just flipped in my brain. I was like, this
Just got real
is
now,
a competition. Let's go. I was like, what time do we start tomorrow? Let's get to work. And so that's why it became like 8 and 10 hour days, is because, again, I'll reiterate this. I suck at dancing. And so I needed 8 to 10 hours a day to be good enough, I felt, to compete at the level I wanted to compete at. And so, man, it was just so many hours on your feet, and you're constantly doing, in between, you're doing interviews and like wardrobe fittings and like all these other things. And it's terrifying. Like you have to go out and dance in front of like 700 people, I think, in the studio. And then, like 12 million of your friends watching at home live. There's no redos, you know, and it's
tearing
just,
you up. I'm sure lighting your phone up, man.
Well, this was the best part, right? So I get through the first show, and then we had our last race of the season was, I think, the next weekend. And I was fully expecting just a barrage of abuse from everybody at the track, right? And so I got there, and my buddies were all like, look, man, I'll be honest with you. Like, we had some really good ones teed up for you, but like, you actually did really well, and I feel bad now making fun of you because we were all like just pretty shocked that you did that. So like, yeah, just keep up the good work, I guess. And yeah, we made it all the way to the end.
I was laughing. I was chatting with Davey Hamilton, and I can't remember who was the race car driver that was on The Bachelor.
Ari
Lineback.
Yeah,
because they were good friends with him, and he ended up getting a nickname, Pillow Lips, out of the show. So because he's kissing all the girls are kissing him, like, oh, Pillow Lips, So they still bust his chops to this day with Pillow Lips.
Would you guys videotape yourselves and then go back and rewatch it
every time?
I imagine.
Yeah,
because I can only imagine having to remember, like, okay, the steps and the move, and we turn and we do this and that, and then go back and watch and be like, oh yeah, I'm frowning the entire time and I look like an idiot.
That's the thing is
or you're staring at your feet.
It's a performance.
Right.
It's a performance. So that was after the first show. So after each dance on the show, we'd go back and we'd watch the video like right away. And the first show, Sharna was like, great job. You need to smile once in a while. I looked like I was doing long division, right? Because I'm like, 1, 2, 3, dip, move, twirl, this. And I was just so focused. And she's like, half of what you're doing is a performance on that show, right? And so you got to learn. And some of the dances are fun, and some of the dances are sexy, and some of them are romantic, and some of them are. And so, like, you got to play this character as well as like it's so much work.
I mean, it really goes back to what we were talking about in racing. Everybody's really good at the high levels of their discipline, and you look at them, the highest level of their discipline,
For sure.
and you're coming into it. It'd be like putting her in the car, telling her to go qualify at Indy, and say, "Oh, you got to work the bar. Don't forget to use your tools.
Use the weight jacker.
Use the weight jacker. Exactly.
Talk
on the radio.
Put a camera in your helmet so that you're looking at your face and be like, but don't remember, if you're
smile.
battling with somebody, you're in a battle and you're aggressive. Now we're happy.
When
we're
you're
leading.
leading.
We're smiling now.
Exactly.
That part, I think, would mess with me more than anything.
Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be literally acting a certain persona based on what song I'm performing to. That's bizarre.
That I heard for the first time 5 days ago and had to learn. It's crazy.
Well, you guys did the racing world well. Served us well. You and Elio did a nice job of that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we had to make up for Waltrip, because he went on the show one year.
Awful.
I mean, I don't know.
It was
how
not great.
I don't know how we don't have this queued up. This guy's dance that he did the choreography to for his daughter's wedding.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go,
man,
Carl.
We got to.
You better write a
video
note.
up somewhere.
Write a note.
That was epic.
Yeah, epic. That's a good word. I don't know that anybody wants to watch it, but it was a lot of fun.
They'll get to see it.
It took me 2 weeks to work on a 2-minute routine, so not 6 to 8 hours. Yeah, no, that part didn't work out. We had a good time though. She had a blast, and we put together a nice little routine, so it was fun to do. Hey man, I want to regress a little bit because I know Robert loves this series. I loved this series when it was going on, and I didn't realize until I started doing a little research on you that you had actually raced in the
A1GP.
A1GP, man.
Greatest series on earth.
Cars were awesome.
Greatest
dude.
series.
You went all around the world doing it.
It was the best, man. The cars sucked. They were terrible cars, but they were fun to drive, and they raced really well because they were so bad. And the series it had everything. It had everything. So it ran in the off season so that every driver could do it, right? I mean, if you had your contracts maybe wouldn't let some guys do whatever, but like essentially a lot of guys were available to run it. You had to be from the country of the car. The car got points, not the driver, so you could swap guys out and give multiple guys a chance. We went all over the world, like the coolest places.
Zandvoort, Czech, Beijing, New Zealand. Wow. I mean,
South Africa, Malaysia, Indonesia. I mean, we just it was incredible. And then you have a sprint race, which was a rolling start and no pit stop on the Saturday, and then you had a feature race, which was standing starts and pit stops on the Sunday. So like it literally had everything covered, it had all the bases covered.
And didn't they make enough power where you could just like knock the tire off of them? Like they were man.
Yeah. They were. I think they were like 700 horsepower, but like I said, the cars were terrible, and so they were an absolute handful. And oh man, like, the racing was great, and the traveling was awesome, and like the TV package they put together, like production value was through the roof. And the prize money was really good, and they threw great parties every Sunday, and they spent all their money in 4 years and went bankrupt. But other than that, it was great.
Super good concept.
Super good concept. And like honestly,
so what kind of cars were they? What was the
They were essentially like the tub was some derivative of an old Formula 3000 car, and it kind of had its own super unique looking bodywork done up for it. It was a Lola, I want to say.
Didn't it have a huge rear tire? I mean,
it was massive,
big, massive rear tire,
and so like
small front tire.
And we flipped these
like
things all the time.
An older F1 car.
It was
or like Derek Daly era or
Formula
so.
5000
Yeah.
style tire to power.
Yep.
Mess of a
but like we rolled so many cars because the rear tire was so wide that you just get your front hooked. And I got rolled in Australia. Like a bunch of guys got rolled in those cars. Super dangerous. God, it was a terrible car. But this series was so good. And I ran for Team Canada was around for 3 years. I ran for 2 of them, and then for the 4th season of the championship, they switched to these Ferrari cars, which were, for all intents and purposes, it was a 2004 Formula 1 car. And those things were amazing. I never got to drive that one because Team Canada folded. And so that's kind of one of my first TV gigs was I did some pit lane reporting for the broadcast. So still got to, travel around and be part of it. But those cars were cool. And they're still sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
Really?
And every year I hear a rumor that someone's going to buy them and do something with them. And I'm really looking forward to when that happens because, sign me up. It's going to be a blast.
Ken asked the question, and you kind of alluded to it a minute ago. What if you had to race in another era, what would it be? Because he asked Connor, and what was Connor's answer?
Oh, he said, I know exactly which era it would be, and he nailed. I mean, he went right to it.
Do you know which one he would go with?
No, but can I guess?
Yes.
It would be 04 to...
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
We've got a winner.
Yeah, so when the series was at its
he said
worst...
02, 03, but I mean, close enough. He was...
When the series was at its worst, when the cars were garbage, but that's when the parting was at its highest, and so that's why Connor wants to do it.
He said, dude, you could fly to the Bahamas between practice sessions, and they wouldn't know it.
Because there was no social media. Nobody knew what you were doing. You go down there and party like a rock star all night and come back and run again the next day.
My little brother.
And nobody would know.
My little brother. Yeah. Whatever Schechter's career was, that's what he just wants to emulate that.
Yes, he referenced Thomas for sure.
Yes. No, I would have gone more for the mid to late 90s. With the big high horsepower cars and
those guys were flying.
Man, those things were cool. And basically everything kart up to 02. And then they lost. Then that's when everybody started Penske left, and then Michael and Bobby left, and Chip left, and but up to that point, so 95 to 02 would have been the sweet spot. Tobacco Money was still around. The cars were incredible. The development was still really big. Many manufacturers were involved. You read the book, The Beast, about that engine that Penske made for the 500. And these guys literally were working with Ilmore in England and literally had human carriers on the 2, what was the Concorde flights? There was 2 Concorde flights a day back and forth, London to UK or to
New
York.
Yep.
And they had people on every one of them for 3 months, just bringing parts back and forth. That shit's awesome, man. That's so cool.
Have you been able to go to Speedway Motors to their museum?
No.
In Lincoln, Nebraska?
No.
He has one of those Mercedes engines there.
Oh, really?
Oh, thanks. So
and
jewelry.
And to my knowledge, he may be the only one. Like Roger, I don't think has one because Roger, I think, so Speedy Bill, right? He's gone now, but Speedy Bill was talking about it, and we got the private tour because I happened to be with Forrest, and he was definitely showing Forrest all of his toys, and I mean, listen, it's a 2-day walkthrough, and I mean the largest pedal kart collection in the world.
Oh, no way.
The old Matchbox with the German helmet on it with the stud on the top. He has that car there. And I mean, so I was mesmerized by all this stuff.
Yeah.
But that Mercedes engine was sitting there, and I looked at it and I said, what is that? I knew what it was. And he goes, well, it fell off of a truck. and he went on. But I think he had that hidden for a long time and then feels like the coast is clear now.
Yeah,
but
it's safe now.
I was really hoping I'd be able to dig up one of those Toyota motors. I mean, people at Toyota. I knew people at TRD. I'm like, there's got to be one laying around somewhere in the back of the shop. But I talked to my contact at TRD, and he said every one of those were cut up. Like, you will never find one. It's gone forever.
Yeah, they're not even in the cars they still have in Costa Mesa. I don't think there's any of them that survived.
Yeah.
It's funny talking about that era, because I would have said the exact same thing, mainly because of that car. But a buddy and I were just talking about that with NASCAR, and I think I would have probably said early 90s to late 90s. That era for them was awesome as well, not necessarily from a vehicle standpoint. Obviously, they were heading in the right direction, but just the fans and, like you said, the sponsors that were behind it, and just that series was so pumped up. And now looking back at the amount of names that were running through in that decade is unreal. I feel like
cast
after
of characters.
After we lost Senior, it was like that whole age group started kind of trickling out, and we saw a lot of the new names and new blood, and I think it's one of the most competitive series in the world, but it's just not. It just doesn't have that fuel behind it. That seems
there
like
was something about it then. Yeah,
NASCAR's had its fair share of challenges. Unfortunately, they can't get out of their own way. And today, the modern era, when Big Bill was alive and Bill Jr., it was a different deal, and I'm happy to hear that Jim France has got a more active role in it now, and is seeing a lot of the things. And Lace's son is maybe the next heir apparent to take over the running of it, but. They just, let's just get back to racing. And I love that about IndyCar. It seems like even the Holman George family, where they were turning it and leading it to, was a lot like it used to be. Not the same, but a lot like it used to be. The fans are coming back, and they're, somebody watches an IndyCar race and watches a NASCAR race. I mean, there's no comparison.
I can honestly say, in my opinion, that right now IndyCar is putting on the best four-wheeled racing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
It's every weekend. I mean, from qualifying, the races, the field is so tight. There's legitimately at least 10 people that can legitimately have a shot at winning every weekend, and you don't know which one it's going to be.
And there's like 5 that have illegitimate shots, but still have shots. These guys that catch a lucky yellow or whatever.
Based on strategy, for 100%. Sure, man. I mean, we saw that at St. Pete. I remember that a couple of years ago, and those guys ended up in the front, and
Yeah.
And let's stop ending under yellow. 2 weeks in a row, we got to stop.
That's bad luck. That's bad luck. But it is what it is.
But here's
the
thing. I know it has to happen. Well, I don't know if it has to happen sometimes, but here's the thing. He hits the wall, brings the yellow out, and still finishes in the top 10. How do you pull that one off?
Because there's no rule that says you can't, because it just doesn't normally happen like that, right? And then that's you could argue that you could create a rule where if you're the cause of the yellow, you automatically at least have to go to the back of the line or something like that. And I'm sure it'll be investigated for next year now. But I was actually, this is going to sound bad, I was kind of surprised they threw it. I wasn't, because it's all with that kind of deal. It's always, you got the risk if he breaks the toe link and then the thing just shoots across the track, right? But when you think of like the fact we stayed green with Ed's deal at the first lap of the 500, and our race director Kyle Novak has said, and since he came in, he very much wants to reduce yellow flags. And there have been a few situations on ovals, a lot of situations on road and street tracks that 3-4 years ago would have been a yellow, no questions asked. And so when I saw it happening, I'm like, 4 laps to go. I don't think he's going to do it. And then as the words came out of my mouth, of course, it throws the yellow. But again, if it comes out at that point, it's too close to the end to throw a red.
And I think it's a protocol. I think it's a pre-planning protocol. and I felt about this at the 500 as well. Now, I will say, and I did subsequently hear that maybe this was the case. Initially, because being on the TV side of things, I understand there's a lot going on over there as well. And I didn't know how much damage was done to that attenuator, but immediately in my mind, everybody's yelling, why did they end it under yellow? But I'm thinking,
TV window.
If there's an hour and a half to fix that attenuator, who knows how much damage is done?
Right.
TV's going to say, listen, guys, we can't play that game. And so that kind of dictates their hand. So I'll give them a mulligan on that one. But to me, the protocol should be, okay, if we're 15 laps to go, everybody's made their final stop pretty much, 10 laps to go, 5 laps to go. Let's set up some protocols here. And if it's 5 laps to go, let's throw a red flag right away. Everybody stops. Your strategy is still your strategy. You've got fuel in the car. It's going to be a little bit to get everybody started back up again. I get that. But that's worth the price for the fans and the people at home to watch a race end under a green flag versus the last 5 laps of the Indy 500.
What was it? Was it 2 years ago, the shootout, when they threw the red, right? Was that 2 years ago?
It was last year.
Last year.
It was last year with that.
I'm
big
sorry,
wreck
I'm
in the-
usually
in the
not
North
very
End.
coherent when I'm at that stage in the game. So
I just think it's a pre-plan. Like if you can,
No,
and I know
so
it
they
can
do.
always
They
change.
do. I had this conversation with them over because being on the TV side of it for this week, I knew that was going to come up, and so we had a meeting with the race director and with Jay Fry, and they do. They kind of have a number at each track after which it's not really possible to throw the red, and the reasons are things like the way that they have to reorder the cars to have to be allowed to open the pits up, because while your fuel, maybe everybody's on their last stop, but if there's been an accident and this was kind of more specific to Indy, but if you've driven through a debris field, you have to allow cars to come in and change tires.
Yeah, sure.
And so to get them around, open the pits, do that, get everybody packed back up, pull the car in 4 laps, it's just you cannot run through the procedure in that amount of time. So even if you threw the red right when it happened, which is logistically impossible because of the timing lines, and you need to pack the field up before you can throw the red. And it took almost a lap and a half to pack the
Okay,
field
so
up.
given that scenario, what you just said there, and and there's always a lot of listen. Those guys are smarter than I am, and you can't tell.
They've just been doing it. They've been doing it.
Yeah, I'm not
going
to think of something they haven't
Right.
thought of. But why, knowing how important it is to finish? Let's just talk about the 500 under green versus yellow. Why not do? Okay, we went yellow with 5 to go. Let's allow these guys to come. Let's clean this mess up. Let's allow these guys to come into the pits. Let's check stuff out.
freezes the field at 5.
Tag some fuel, and let's go 5-lap racing.
Because then it's not the Indy 500 anymore. It's the Indy 510 or the Indy 512 and a half.
Not if you don't count those.
But
yellow
we did them. But yes, yeah. But that's what it'll come down to. Like that's why the overtime thing's never
Right.
really been considered,
No.
right? Because then it's not the,
Yeah.
like they've done it at Daytona so many times. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the one that always bugged me. It was like you can't call it the 500 anymore.
And with St. Louis too, I can understand at that point in the race why it's hard to go red flag. It's just difficult. And again, teams are strategizing. Everything they're doing is based around that amount of laps, whether there's caution or green. End of story.
Yeah.
The hard thing to justify is, and I understand why he did it, because on ovals you need to get, I mean, as you very well know, you need to get emergency workers
Yeah.
to the driver as quick as possible. So as soon as a car makes contact with the wall, we're going yellow.
Right.
I don't remember the last time I saw an Indy car like that hit the wall and just keep on cruising like
Yeah.
nothing ever happened.
Exactly.
Like
So,
they were running a Pro 4 or something.
looking back, it's like they should have never thrown the yellow.
Right.
At which point, I don't think Takuma continues. I think if anybody would
No, for
continue, it's
sure.
probably him. But at that point, it's probably thinking, I can't continue. The car's damaged. I have
sure.
to pull in. But they do throw the yellow. He thinks, well, I'm just going to cruise my way to the checkered now. So he stays on track. There's no damage. And now we're stuck with 3 laps. Field's not packed. And there's
And
nothing we
the
can do.
problem is, when he did rub the wall, it's like, okay, did he knock something off the car? Did he rub something up
Oh,
on
he
that
was
top
crab walking
roof?
like crazy.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
no
yeah,
way
it
he would have
was-
continued
it was
faster
broke.
than pace car speed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can understand why you have to throw the yellow that quick. But had there been even probably a 1 Mississippi more of like,
Yeah.
should we throw it? Then maybe it doesn't happen. The race probably everybody.
They need to
probably
get the
finishes
flagman from
I think you
Anderson
got to err on the
Speedway.
side of safety. I mean,
You
I
have
get
to.
it. Just in this
You have
series,
to.
I mean, it
Yeah.
happens all the
You
time.
have to.
Bottom line is everybody wants the thing to end under green, and the series does too, clearly. But
Yeah, they stress out about that a lot, and because they know how much flack they're going to take if
No,
not.
nobody benefits.
weeks in a
from
row.
the leader
Literally
from a
nobody.
caution finish.
biggest
Well,
race of the year, and then the next race.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
I mean, technically we raced on Saturday, and that one ended in a green, but it's
But
technically not this next race.
But the way you described it is like people need to understand that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, hell, I'm around it all the time, and of course, I'm the same idiot. Well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they? And
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
there's
well,
so many things that go into it, and and what the main thing that people have to understand, and without going into any detail at all, is that if it's physically possible to end the race on a green, they will find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't end on a green, it's because it was not possible.
people were upset, with the Speedway and about this whole mess that's going on and everything. There's nobody else more than Roger Penske that wanted people in the stands.
Absolutely.
To show off what he's started to do and where this thing's going.
It's a tie with him and Doug Bowles.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
To get the series, to get the Speedway, and then to have this happen this year. I mean, what
It's
is it?
it's the most unlucky thing for him, and it's the most fortunate thing for the rest of us, because to have that guy in charge through all this and
He's
to kind of get
motivated.
Yeah, I mean, he just made a big investment in it, and like I said, this 2020 is just a continued investment. It was just you buy a house and then you realize, oh, this little thing needs replacing, and you open up the wall. It's like, oh no, we got to redo the whole main floor. That's what happened.
Yeah.
In an indirect way, that's what happened. But
Yeah, I just hope they don't open up any of the walls in turn 2. They would have to redo the whole house.
I think they'll just burn that down one day and start from scratch.
I had a friend in Bill Simpson, and I knew Bill from the racetrack, and Bill was about the most unapproachable person if you really didn't know him.
Yeah.
And then, he and I became good friends, and it was that's where it happened, because he was down from us a few doors, and I wouldn't put up with this, none of it. He would get all surly and start raising hell with people. I'm like, settle down, and he's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I said settle down. What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything to me. So but he'll be greatly missed. We also lost Cindy, Big Red, that was over there forever with CNR, and then Stewart for a long time. So it's there's been a lot of loss this year, but there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of Roger having the place, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, I've heard of all of the things that have already happened. I mean, and I love the attention to detail, and
For sure.
and as I always said, the Hallman George family. I mean, at some point when you've lived that your whole life, you're ready to go pick up another segment in your life of,
Yep.
Hey, I'll just be the car owner.
Yep.
I mean,
I told you I was spotting there at the Speedway. We we were there all the first week, or from Wednesday on, and then we came out for Friday, carb day, and the guys were working over there in turn 3. Some of the crew was just working on the building underneath the grandstands. Didn't think anything about it. They're just doing their thing. We're doing our thing, and we all leave at the end of the day. I come back on Sunday for race day, and the stairs where you go up to the grandstands, everything's painted perfect.
Really?
I mean, literally from Friday to Sunday, with no fans there whatsoever, they've now completely painted all the stairs that were rusty and needed to be painted badly, in anticipation of maybe or next year or whatever. I mean, they're still working as though
he's got a plan, man.
Yeah, I mean,
For
it's
sure.
it's
Got an
on.
awesome plan.
Yeah, it was super cool to see. It was like, wow, look at that, man. It's pretty cool.
So
Hey, speaking of the future, you do an absolutely great job on TV.
Thank you.
And I promise you, if I didn't like it, I just wouldn't say anything. But no, you do a fabulous job. And it's always great when you see a driver that has a rapport with drivers, because you go up, you know what questions to ask, you know what they're feeling, you know what they're looking for, or maybe what just bit them, and they have confidence in you. So that rapport is just magical that you're able to bring to all of us at home. So excellent job on that. But I also, without even asking you, I'm quite certain that is not what you want to be doing at the racetrack. So what's the future look like for you, man? I'm sure you're scrapping to stay in a car.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, short term, that's definitely not the goal. It was a great opportunity for this year with the way my season played out, with the partial deal with Andretti, and I've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's definitely something I'll look into in the future. But no, we're working very hard on a full-time program, multi-year program. We're getting very close. We've had tremendous support from our partner in Genesis, who came on this year. And yeah, we wanted to get through our season. We knew that we were done at Indy, and now we can focus all of our attention on kind of building for the future, and hopefully in the not too distant future we'll have some good news and something to announce. But that's definitely the plan.
And Robert, I know this year bit you as well. What's the plans going forward on your side?
I mean, obviously, just anytime you're trying to chase money to go racing it's a difficult thing, and I can only imagine at the level that you're trying to do it at. And I almost think there's a very difficult little middle ground, because it's really easy to get stuck kind of in the price range that where I've been racing the past few years, Globe MX5 Cup off-road, things like that. It's okay to, find that the sponsors that maybe throw in 5, 10K here, find a few of them over time. Of course, you want a little more than that. And then maybe with an IndyCar, you get, the full TV package and everything that goes along with running an IndyCar.
You're selling a lot. You're selling
There's a lot more to sell. So I almost feel like it's probably, maybe not easier isn't the right word, but a little easier to chase, the 5 million, whatever it may be, I don't know, multi-year deal with these companies that are capable of that want the TV time, that want the exposure. I'd love to go do something like Indy Lights if I could, but
it's the hardest sell.
It's
the
so
hardest sell.
hard to sell. That
the
500 to
return,
1.2 million area for almost all series in that general price range. Yeah, and what you're getting in return, it's so difficult to sell, to get the experience, to get to that next level. But we won the championship in off-road last season, and I really was looking forward to chasing that again and maybe going back-to-back this year, but that didn't happen. So hopefully I'll be back in the short course off-road. I love racing that series over there with Lucas Oil out on the West Coast. So looking forward to doing that. And sports car is really my home. Sports car racing, it's what I've been doing at pretty much a pro level for 10 years now. And I'd love to go IMSA racing if I could. Maybe if I get lucky, we go to run Indy this weekend and continue the points season. If we can get the championship, then maybe it leads to a LMP3 ride or a GT4 ride somewhere over in the IMSA series. So just chasing it however we can. Same old deal, man.
That's what you got to do.
And by the way, that off-road deal went away directly because of COVID-19. The sponsor, 2 brand new cars ready to go, had never been so ready ever in our career, and knowing what we were going to do and where we were going to go, and then having the cars, 2 complete ready to go cars, and this thing bit, and the sponsor who was very concerned about his business said, I've got to make sure I can take care of my employees before I go play racing. Yeah. And so he pulled the plug on the deal, and full intentions of going in 2021, but 2 cars sitting there, and finally earns a number 1 plate and never get to put it on the car.
Better yet, it is on the car, and we just get to watch it sit there.
Right.
It's even more frustrating for sure. But that's the way. Honestly, in hindsight, it would have been really difficult to do now because of the consistent scheduling changes. Even up till yesterday, they just changed off-road race. We're still waiting on a postponed IndyCar race to be rescheduled, IndyCar weekend. So it would have been really difficult to try to do both series and juggle those at the same time anyways. So it all worked out.
Awesome. Well, we thank both of you guys for taking the time to come in here, Hinch. I know you're super busy. And
of course.
By the way, congrats and good luck with your podcast. And
thank you.
I know you and Alex have some fun doing that. We
do. I have more fun than him. He doesn't. Alex doesn't have fun doing many things. He's a very serious guy.
Well, it had to be fun watching your tires stacked on top of your coach. I mean, that had to be a fun moment.
That was, for him, it was great. I mean, he immediately accused me, which was very alarming. I went to the gym that morning, and he comes storming in the gym, and he walks right up to me, and he goes, "You're dead." I'm like, "What? For what? What?" I mean, okay, I believe I've probably done something, but which grievance specifically?
One did you catch me doing?
Are you upset about? And he showed me the picture. I'm like, oh no, that one wasn't me. No.
So maybe you guys have spoke about this. I saw something about it, social media or something, of Rossi going into Pit Fit with a bag with, is it $100 worth of pennies?
Correct. Yes.
To pay his bill at Pit Fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's the background story there? That was hilarious.
So it was absolutely hilarious because it cost him $170 to get $100 worth of pennies. But it was so worth it for the look on Jim Leo's face. So Jim Leo, runs Pit Fit, and we have a bunch of kettlebells, for working out, whatever. And kettlebells are all color coded. They're like universally color coded, so you know that the yellow one weighs this much and the blue one weighs this much, whatever. But like, there's a lot of them, and we don't want to learn it. And so Alex was like, "Can you just put up a sign that says blue is 12 kilograms and yellow is 16? Like, can you just put that up there?" For about 3 years, Alex asked for this, right? And Jim just kept. I mean, it's insane. It's just,
I was getting ready to say that's a total ignore. He's not doing it now.
He's doing. I don't know, and I don't know what actually sparked Jim to finally do it, right? But he finally went out and got these nice sheets printed off with the colors and the weights, and he put it up above the mirror where the kettlebells are. And I guess it cost him $100 to get it printed, and so he comes in one day and he drops an invoice on Alex's lap for $100 for the sign. Oh yeah, and when he got the sign made, he cheekily in the corner put donated by Alexander Rossi. This was not discussed. This was not agreed upon in any way, shape, or form. Alex was not thrilled by this. He's like, we pay you how much a month? So he's like, all right, I'll pay you. And went online and found a place where that would ship him $100 in pennies in a duffel bag. And it weighed about 60 something pounds. And he brought it into the gym one day and walked up to Jim and just dropped it at his feet. And it was perfect. It was like the top popped open and Jim looked inside and his mouth just dropped. He's like, what is this? And then the invoice was sitting on top with a paid stamp on it. It was funny. That was a good one.
That's awesome.
That's great stuff, man. You guys working out all together all the time over there. That's pretty cool too. I mean, the camaraderie outside of the race car.
Yeah, for sure. We see, Dixon's there every morning, TK's there every morning, me, Charlie, Spencer, Alex, Zach's there, Dalton. I mean, it's most of the guys in town come out and train there, and it's cool. It's always fun on like Tuesdays, because we usually take Mondays off after the races, but like Tuesday after race is like the best day to be in the gym because you just hear everybody's stories and you just swapping war stories from the day or whatever. It's cool.
It's got to be a bit of a motivator too. It's like, at least I'm gonna have a good time there. There's gonna be some buddies are there, and
well, I mean, the motivator comes in the fact that like we just push each other so hard, which is awesome. And by that I mean Scott Dixon pushes the rest of us because nobody can beat him in anything.
Really?
Oh,
get on the Jacob's ladder.
That's a medieval torture
Kiss of
device,
death.
that thing. Yeah.
Well, I saw that, let's go back to Iowa. I mean, guys getting out. I mean, Will Power, done.
Yeah.
You're talking to Connor. Connor said they had to wrap my legs in ice. He said they had to help me out of the car. He said I couldn't stand up.
He said he fainted or something when he got out of the car. He was done.
Yeah.
I mean, a brutal race, and then
He doesn't train at PitFit, just saying. All the PitFit guys were fine. Weird.
Oh,
Weird.
there you go.
Interesting.
Something
Shots
learned.
fired. Shots
Yes,
fired.
Something learned. Yeah, I think Dixon was standing there, and his hair looked great.
Yeah. Could have done another one the next day. He was fine. He was totally fine.
Great stuff, man. Well, thanks a lot again for coming out. We appreciate it, man. Best of luck the rest of the season, but more importantly, next year, going towards next year. Hopefully, you get back. We'd like to see you back on the car.
Appreciate
Great on
it. Thank
TV, but we'd rather see you on the car for now.
One day we'll get back,
Back
on
on TV
now.
later in the future. So, best of luck next year to you as well, Robert. Hope things come together. And Rico, thanks for letting us put on this show once again. Beautiful place here. Carl, thanks, man. I don't know if you made any mistakes yet or not, but when I'll watch the show and then I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I'll let you know
did not cough during the show. I'm proud of you. This is like 2 shows in a row.
So thanks again, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time here on The Skinny. Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.